So first off, algae, the most basic and earliest form of plant life on Earth. 4.5 billion years ago, it was probably some variation of these that floated around our primordial oceans. Algae are multi- or unicellular photosynthetic organisms incorporating seaweeds and phytoplankton. Most commonly found in aquatic environments, they lack a differentiated structure of true roots, leaves, or stem. In lacking embryonic development, lengthified vascular tissue, seeds, or flowers, algae rely on water currents to transfer gametes for external fertilization. There are three main groups. Rhodophyta are your red coralline seaweeds. Their vibrant colour is due to accessory pigments that function as photosynthetic materials working in tandem with chlorophyll A to absorb light at greater depths. Imbued with calcium carbonate, these seaweeds are major contributors to coral reefs. Brown seaweeds, Phaeophyta, are the largest variation of algae, for example kelps. They have a simple structure with a holdfast, stipe, and thallus divided into blades and meristem. Finally, Chlorophyta, your green algae, most notably being sea lettuce. Chlorophyll A and B are the predominant pigments and store nutrients in the form of starch. Now, bryophytes. Bryophytes are your little ground-hugging plants. They live in moist environments, relying on osmosis for their uptake of water. This is because they lack vascular tissue, thus also limiting their ability to grow. Furthermore, a moist environment is crucial for the transport of the sperm to the egg. Their high dependency on water greatly restricts their range of habitation. The egg and sperm of bryophytes are enclosed by protective organs called archeogonia and antheridia. These protective organs prevent the gametes from desiccation. It is this protective layer which makes the bryophytes more advanced than algae. After fertilization, the female parent plant will nourish the embryo as it grows into a sporophyte. This introduction of a sporophyte generation into the life cycle leads to more genetic variation through meiotic divisions of numerous spore mother cells. Now to ferns and fern allies. These are vascular plants. They have no seeds or flowers. However, they do have an embryo. Examples include horsetails and club mosses. Ferns have the ability of making organic nutrients and producing spores on their leaves. These spores, which are located in sporocysts, are what allows them to reproduce. Vascular tissues are connective tissues that make up the lengthified xylem, which transports water around the plant, as well as the phloem, which is not lengthified and transport all the products produced by the plants around the body of it. Lengthified vascular tissue also adds structural support to the plant. This is an evolutionary advantage, allowing the plant to grow tall, unlike bryophytes. Now we move on to the seed-bearing plants. Unlike angiosperms, gymnosperm seeds are not enclosed within an ovary, but rather exposed on scales or leaves. These scales or leaves often form cones, like in pine trees. Like bryophytes and ferns, they have an embryo. This develops after fertilization, and together with food supply and a special seed coat, it forms the seed. During seed development, the scales of the cones are closed. Once fully developed, the cones open and the seed is dispersed by the elements. Gymnosperms have two major evolutionary advantages. The first is that they grow secondary xylem, or wood, which gives them more mechanical strength, thus allowing increased vertical growth than their fern counterparts. They often have water-conserving leaves, allowing them to live in drier, cooler environments. Finally, what differentiates angiosperms from all other plant groups in particular is that they produce flowers. Flowers are a major reproductive advantage for colonizing the land. First, by coevolution and alliances with pollinators, your insects and birds, transfer and dispersion of gametes, pollen, is more directed, thus increasing likelihood of fertilization. Development of fruit as well, which is the thickening of the ovary wall around the seeds, whilst protecting the gametes in the seed, also aids dispersion. Secondly, targeted dispersion is a trade-off for production of pollen. Less pollen is required to ensure the fertilization, such as that shown by gymnosperms that rely on the wind for dispersion, meaning angiosperms can invest more in functions such as strength and defense rather than reproduction. Exhibiting all the benefits of lengthified vascular tissue for strength and nutrient transport, seeds for gamete defense, embryonic development, and of course reproductive superiority of flowers, angiosperms, since their evolution during the Cretaceous, have become the dominant plant group, making up about 85% of all plant species.